it's Novella Joy. Welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I did a tutorial on my everyday makeup look. If you're interested in seeing how I got this look, then stay tuned. I'm starting off this tutorial today with my skincare routine already done. So the first step is going to be my primer. I'm using the MAC Prep and Prime base today. I'm going to use one pump, distribute it between my fingertips, and then gently rub it into my face. A key tip here is that I'm using a silicone-based primer because I am using a silicone-based foundation later in the tutorial. So you always want to match the base of your primer with your foundation so that you can alleviate any pilling or balling up of your makeup. A lot of times I see girls say like, oh, this foundation didn't work, it was pilling up on my skin, and it might have been that you just used a primer that was incompatible. So always check the ingredients before buying a primer. You want to make sure it's compatible with your foundation. Next up I'm going to do is brows. I'm using the Precisely My Brow pencil from Benefit in the shade 4. I already have really full brows. However, when you're wearing makeup, a lot of times brows can kind of like blend in after you've added so many other products to your face. So I like to make sure they're accentuated and they're still, showing up and I can still see them in pictures and they're nice and precise. So I always start on the tail end of my brow. I'm going to extend it a bit. And then I'm going to start moving towards the front. When I get all the way to the front, I'm going to start doing some upward hair-like strokes, and then I'm going to start moving back towards the center of the brow and doing more hair-like strokes, but they're going to be in the direction of the hair. I like for the tail of my brow to be the most accentuated and darkest part of the brow, and the rest of it to gradually get lighter so that it's a nice progression and they look as natural as possible. Also, don't forget to brush the product through. That also helps it remain natural. You don't want it to be like super blocky or too dark. So definitely brush the product through to distribute the product. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other brow, and I'm probably going to speed this part up a little bit. Next, I'm going to be using my Tarte Shape Tape in Tan Sand to conceal underneath my brows. And I'm going to be applying it with my IT Cosmetics 212 Essential Concealer Brush. I'm going to put some concealer on the back of my hand, and then I'm just going to dip my brush in. I'm going to go right underneath my brow to just clean up and make sure that it looks as crisp and precise as possible. And then you're going to notice that when I get to the tail, I'm going to go more in an outward motion as opposed to downward. I like to have a slight arch in my brows, but I've been preferring straighter brows recently. Straighter brows give the illusion of a slimmer face, so I've just been liking that look. For the top of my brows, I'm going to be using my MAC Studio Fix Conceal and Correct palette. This is the dark palette, and I'm going to be using the shade NC45. On top of my brows, I prefer a concealer that's going to be closer to my skin tone as opposed to the Tarte Tan Sand. That's going to be a little lighter. So I always make sure to do a crisp, clean line for the tail because I want that to be the sharpest part. And then I just use whatever product is still left on my brush to just finish concealing the rest of the brow. I'm not going to be too concerned with making sure the concealer is 100% blended out at this stage, because when we add on foundation, which is going to be the next step, everything will get blended out. It's one of the reasons why I like doing brows first. The foundation that I'm wearing today is going to be the Nars Natural Radiant Longwear in the shade Huahine. Nars honestly is one of my favorite brands for foundations They make fantastic face products that photograph extremely well. If you ever need to take pictures for anything, I highly recommend using some Nars products. To apply this, I'm going to be using my beauty sponge from the brand Makeup Eraser. Of course, it's going to be clean and damp. You always want to apply your products with a damp sponge. Don't use a dry one, it's going to soak up all your product. I absolutely love this sponge. The texture of it is amazing. It's really soft, and then also the way that it's shaped perfectly fits the contours of the face. And also it's machine washable. It's the first machine washable sponge they've made. You can throw it in the washer, it won't fall apart. I absolutely love it. We're not going to drag or pull our sponge across our face. You're going to press your foundation into your face. Just dab and press. And we're going to blend all over your face. And also, I do my eyelids because you want your face to be a cohesive unit. You don't want to apply foundation in one place and then just completely skip over some other things. Foundation is supposed to be like making your face a blank canvas, so that you can add things back in, because foundation kind of takes away like the highlights and like the shadows in your face, so we're going to add those back in later when we highlight and contour, but you just want it to be like a flat blank canvas. And like I said, we're just going to blend to death. Another thing that I like to do to really get a seamless blend is I'm going to go in with this MAC 170 brush, and you want to buff out like the edges of your face. You really want your face and your neck to have a seamless blend. So I just lightly go over it with this brush. I also do my forehead, make sure it's really blended into my hairline. You want everything just to seamlessly flow together. Next, we're going to do a little bit of highlighting and contouring. I'm going back into my Tarte Shape Tape and Tan Sand, and I'm going to apply it underneath my eyes in this upside down triangle shape. I'm not going to go out too wide because making the triangle wider will make your face look wider. So we're just going to do kind of like a slender upside down triangle. And then I'm going to go down the bridge of my nose. I'm also going to do my forehead. I'm going to go over top of my lip, and I'm going to connect that to the two triangles that I made. And then I'm going to do my chin. I'm going to use my same beauty sponge that I use to do my foundation, and I'm going to start blending out my forehead. I like to let under my eyes sit for a few seconds so that I really get some coverage. So I start blending on my forehead, I go down my nose, and then I start blending out the rest of my concealer. I'm also going to add that concealer over my eyes. Even though I didn't apply any product directly to them, the excess product that's on the sponge, I usually bring it up to conceal on my eyes. I have a chickenpox scar on my eye that I've had since I was like 11, and because I like for my face to have like, you know, a smooth, flawless base, I always add like a little concealer on my eyes to help cover that up. Next, I'm going to go back into my MAC Studio Fix Conceal and Correct palette. This time I'm going to be using the darkest shade in the palette, NW55, to contour. I'm going to make little upward strokes right under my cheekbone, and then I'm also going to be adding some product onto the sides of my forehead. Contouring is going to help give us that chiseled look. and that snatched look that I love. We're also going to go right underneath the ear and then kind of like down the jawline. I'm applying my contour with a MAC 227 brush. This is my favorite brush to do cream contour with. And then I'm also going to start working on my nose contour. I'm going to bring it in from my brow bone. So I'm actually starting on my eye and then down my nose. So from my brow bone down my nose. Down the sides of my nose, because you don't want to mess up that highlighted line that you put in the middle. To blend this out, I'm going back in with my MAC 170 brush. And I'm kind of pushing the product upwards. You want to have like that lifted, chiseled cheekbone look. We're just going to keep blending out the rest of the face. I do my forehead in kind of like circular motions, my cheekbones in upward and also some circular motions. You just want everything to be really blended and pretty seamless. And because I prefer a pretty bright highlight, I'm going to go back in with my Cover FX Power Play on any of the areas that I already highlighted and just make it a little bit brighter. This is the shade G Medium 2, so it's going to be a little lighter than my Tarte Shape Tape. And I'm just going to apply it over the areas that I highlighted already just to make it a little brighter. But I'm using a lot less product than I did with my Tarte Shape Tape. Then I'm going to grab my makeup eraser sponge and we're just going to blend this out. Just like when I was doing the foundation with this sponge, you never want to drag a beauty sponge over your face. You just want to press the product in. Just dab, 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 blend, blend, blend. Because you want your application to just be as smooth as possible. Dragging can sometimes just make things look streaky or just not as smooth as it could possibly be. So you're just going to press. And then I don't always do this, but I'm going back in with my MAC 170 brush just to make sure that everything is still blended. That's honestly the key to a flawless base, just making sure everything is as seamless and blended and cohesive as possible. Next, I'm going to be going in with my Dermablend Loose Setting Powder. This is my absolute favorite setting powder. It looks white in the container, however, it leaves no flashback whatsoever. I always make sure that my under eyes are completely smooth, no creases. And then I'm going to go in with my Kat Von D number 25 brush. I always find that I get a more flawless look when I go in with a brush first and then go back in with my sponge. And like I said, always make sure that before you apply your powder, your under eye concealer is really smooth. If you have creases in it and then you use powder over top of that, you're just going to be setting in creases. So I'm going to set all of the areas that I highlighted. Also, I'm using my sponge to make sure that my lids don't have any creases in them. And then I'm going over that with my brush. Then I'm going to use my sponge to actually add a little more setting powder. I dip my sponge in the powder, I'm going to dust it off on my hand, and then I'm just going to go back underneath my eyes, down my nose, on my forehead, and any of the areas that I highlighted. I always make sure to set my smile lines pretty well because those are usually some of the first areas on your face that can start creasing. So I definitely set my smile lines well, and then my chin. Then to set my whole face, I'm going to be going in with my Sephora Micro Smooth Powder in the shade Tan 40. I'm going to be applying this with an IT Cosmetics 110 brush. And I'm not going to swipe this powder across my face. I'm literally just going to stipple it in because any areas that we didn't use the Dermablend powder on are still going to be like damp from product. And if you just swipe powder over top of that, it's going to definitely mess up your base. So we're going to stipple this in instead. Now that everything's mostly set and dry, I'm going to go in with an IT Cosmetics 108 brush. In circular motions, I'm going to buff a little more of the Micro Smooth powder on. And I don't have to be scared that it's going to disrupt any of the makeup underneath now because everything is dry already. This helps give a more flawless finish. Then I'm going in with my Lancome Dual Finish Powder in the shade 460. And I'm going to use a MAC 129 brush to just go back in and warm back up my face. I'm going to be applying this powder over any of the areas that I cream contoured earlier. I prefer to have a more warm look to my face, so I don't even really contour much. Like most of the products that I use are going to be more like a bronzer. So we're just bronzing the face back up, adding some color back. And like I said, we're going over any of the areas that I used cream contour on earlier. Powders help increase the longevity of your makeup, so if you ever use a cream product, you always want to make sure that you set it. Then I'm also going to be setting my nose contour. Don't forget about that. You don't want your nose like slipping around, slipping and sliding. Next, I'm going in with my MAC Mineralized Skin Finish. This is the shade Dark Deepest. And we're just gonna deepen that a little bit more and just keep warming back up the face. And then a little hack that I like that makes it so that you don't have to add any extra products is that I'm also going to use this same bronzer to add definition back to my eyes. So I'm using the Real Techniques Deluxe Crease Brush, and I'm just using that same bronzer and going in windshield wiper motions and also some circular motions and just adding definition back to my eyes. This is also going to help your face just flow together better. And I like connecting my crease to my nose contour. So I'm also going to go down my nose just so that everything flows together. Next, I'm going to be using this MAC Sheer Tone blush in the shade Peaches, and I'm going to be applying it with this It Cosmetics 227 Flawless Blush Brush. I'm going to be going right above my bronzer in kind of like a diagonal upwards motion. And I really like this blush. It's like really buildable, it's not too harsh. So you don't have to be too scared of like applying too much. It's definitely buildable. Next, I'm going in with my MAC Fix Plus. So MAC Fix Plus is a finishing spray, not a setting spray, and a lot of people get the two confused. Finishing sprays are just going to make the finish of your makeup look skin-like again as opposed to powdery, but they're not going to extend the wear of your makeup. So after I let that dry for a little bit, I'm then going to go in with an actual setting spray. I'm going in with the Beauty Bakery baking spray to make sure that my makeup lasts as long as possible. After that, I'm going in with my MAC Mineralized Skin Finish in Soft and Gentle, and I'm going to be applying this as highlighter with my e.l.f. highlight brush. I love highlighters in the winter time because it just gives you that glow. Sometimes during the summer, it can make you look a little sweaty. However, during the winter when it's cold and dry out, I think that a highlight just gives you the most beautiful glow. So I'm applying it to the tops of my cheekbones, the tip of my nose, and then my Cupid's bow. So I'm completely done with my base, and now I'm gonna move on to eyes. My absolute favorite liquid liner is gonna be the J-Cat Beauty Rockin' Glitz liner. This stuff is so matte and so black, and it's only like $5 at Ulta. My foolproof way of doing liner is that I always mark where I want my wing to be. So I start on the end, and then I start dragging it back in towards the center of my eye, and I go about halfway. Then I'm gonna go towards the inner corner of my eye and drag that back towards the middle. So I'm gonna make those lines that I drew meet back up. And then I'm just gonna fill in my actual wing. Then I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Make a line marking where I want my wing to be, and then dragging that back in towards the center, doing my inner corner and dragging it back towards the center, and then filling in my wing. To do my waterline, I'm gonna go in with my Shiseido Kajal Ink Artist in Nippon Noir. I got this when I went to a class for them for work. And honestly, like, this stuff is super black and it doesn't budge. I know some liners that you use on your waterline, like sometimes they'll like shift around. This one doesn't, so I've been loving it ever since I got it. For mascara, I'm just doing Tarte's Lights Camera Lashes. Honestly, I always feel like you can use whatever kind of mascara that you want. It really doesn't make a difference, especially since I wear lashes. I don't think that you have to spend a ton of money on mascara. I always say spend most of your money on skincare and your foundation and like base products. So for my mascara, I'm gonna wiggle it into the roots of my lashes and kind of like blink into it. And then I'm also gonna do my lower lashes. I'm turning the brush vertically so I can really get the product on. And then I'm basically distributing the product by just brushing it out horizontally. Then I'm just gonna do my other eye. Same technique, wiggle it into the base and then brush it through. Kind of like blink into it so that you really get it in there. And then I'm going to use whatever product is left on the brush and just do my bottom lashes. I start off horizontally, but then you're going to see me turn the brush vertically again so that you can really like get in there with the product. And then I'm just going to distribute it through. Then we're moving on to lips. My favorite liner is the MAC lip liner in Chestnut, and I'm also doing one of my favorite lip combos today. I'm a sucker for nude lips, and this goes with almost everything. So with my liner, I'm really going to accentuate my Cupid's bow, make sure that it's nice and precise, and then do the rest of my top lip, and then I'm just going to line the bottom. The liner doesn't have to be perfect. I prefer my liner to be a little chunky because we're going to be blending everything together anyway. Next, I'm using my Ofra Cosmetics Long Lasting Liquid Lipstick in the shade Dubai. This is just a cool tone nude, and I'm just going to add this mostly to the center of my lips. And then I'm just going to blend it together with my liner. Then I'm just going back in with my chestnut liner just to touch up any areas and make sure that everything's blended the way that I would like it to be. To top it off, I'm using my Marc Jacobs High Shine Lip Lacquer in the shade Sugar Sugar. I absolutely love Marc Jacobs glosses. I feel like they're the perfect blend of sheen and color, and they're never sticky. Definitely a fave. To finish this look off, I'm wearing Lily Lashes in the style Miami, and I'm using my Brush On Duo Lash Glue. These are definitely some of my favorite lashes. I feel like they look good with almost any look. It can be just a regular everyday look like this, or it can be something a little more dramatic. They just always look good, and they last really long. Supposedly Lily Lashes last up to 30 wears because they are kind of pricey, but I just love them. The quality is definitely there. So I'm going to brush on the glue, and then you want to let your glue get tacky for about, 15 to 30 seconds. And then my hack for really making it simple to put on lashes is you want to tack on the middle of the lash first. Then I'm going to try to get the outer corner of the lash on, and then I'm going to do my inner corner. So it's going to be middle, outer, inner. I always feel like that's just like the easiest way. So then of course we're going to do it on the other eye. So we're going to brush on our glue, wait till it gets tacky. And then, like I said, we're going to tack down the middle first. Then we're going to push that outer edge up closer to the lash line. And then we're going to do the inner corner. And another tip is I always like to kind of like squeeze it into my lash line. You don't want there to be any gaps. I hate it when that happens. That is just not the look that anybody wants to go for. Like, you want your falsies to look exactly like your lashes, so make sure those lashes are squeezed into your lash line. So that's the final look. It's just, nice every day. This is also the look that I do in almost all of my Instagram photos. It photographs well every time. So this is the final look. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more beauty related content, then like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what else you guys want to see too. If you want to see more beauty related things, some fitness, some lifestyle. I do have some of that planned for the channel, but definitely let me know like specifically what you guys want to see more of. And if you'd like to, definitely share this video so you can help me grow my little community of subscribers and supporters. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.